What's really dangerous, but everyone treats it like it's safe. Sunburns would be treated much differently if they were called by their true name, radiation burns. Driving. Long hair around pulleys and belts. There's a YouTube channel where two young ladies are working around a sawmill with long hair, and I can't count how many times people have begged them in the comments to tuck their hair up. They don't. Infections. Every person reacts differently to them. Don't assume you're the average. Wild Animal C was in Thailand when a 30-year-old got bitten by a monkey. Her complaint? No one had warned her not to pet the monkeys. Honest to God. Compressed air. Those bullshit carny rides at state fairs. Water on the road. You might be able to drive through it, but more often than not you shouldn't try to. Riding a horse is comparable with serious extreme sports, and head injuries are the most common. See kayaking. Simple, but you're in serious trouble if you flip around and can't get back in. Alcohol. The bison living in Yellowstone. Blunt kitchen knives. One might think, oh, this is just a flat piece of steel, but cutting becomes steering and crushing. The extra force this takes can easily send the knife off in an unintended direction in a swift and uncontrollable manner. Then you find out what a flat piece of steel can do to your fingers. Household everyday cleaning chemicals. I get a lot of tourists in my area trying to casually summit the local 14,000 feet mountain in sandals. Some weeks in the summer are absolutely nuts for SAR and the emergency room staff. ADA. SAR equals search and rescue. Revealing personal information about yourself on the internet. Childbirth for both mother and child. Loneliness. The NHS, British healthcare system, did a study like this. Develop a statistical definition of loneliness, a threshold of social connections, below which, yeah, the subject is pretty surely lonely. Examine the difference in death rate between people in the same demographic categories, who are lonely, as defined, or not lonely. Being lonely turns out to have about the same risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. What do a lot of parents do that unknowingly screws their children over? Not apologize when they're wrong. Might sound a little contradictory, but either not disciplining them or disciplining them way too much. Forgetting what it was like to be that age and expecting their kids to react differently to things than them when they were that age. Over-sheltering them. You can't protect your kids 24/7 for their whole lives. It leads to naive adults that get taken advantage of. Comparing them with other kids' person facepalming. Forgetting that a kid's brain isn't fully developed like their own. Also, shaming in any way of something your kid isn't into. Trying to learn about it is actually quite helpful and a good way to connect. And, parents can learn things that they like too. I didn't know I liked Pierce the Veil until my 12-year-old liked them and I wanted to check them out. Try to fill every minute with organized activities such as traveling sports leagues. Don't get me wrong, some extracurricular activities are good, but when your kids never have an unaccounted for minute, I think it has a negative impact. They fail at letting their kids fail and figure out how to recover. It prevents the kids from becoming resilient. Not encouraging them to learn basic skills like cooking for fear it'll make a mess. Not discussing money with them. I'm not saying parents should dump their financial stress on their kids, but things like budgeting, taxes, and personal finance discussions would have helped me tremendously. Not teach them to think for themselves. What is something you will never give a fuck about? Social media influencers. Celebrity drama. My ex begging for the cat's back. She left us 3 to fuck some dude halfway around the world. When she came back, she had the audacity to ask 4th cat's back after her 4-year hiatus in the country. So satisfying to tell her to go fuck herself. Entitled Celebrities and Social Media Influencers. Reality TV and its stars. Hollywood award shows. The Kardashians said it. Holy cow, thanks for the gold. I really appreciate it. Facebook. The British royal family. Scripted pranks lol. Spoiled rich people. NFT. Gender reveals edit. Some people seem to think that I want gender reveals banned or that I am actively against them. Not the case. I simply don't give a fuck. Thanks for all the upvotes. Open mouth smile. Luxury items like crazy expensive cars, bags, and watches. What things do men do that are sexy that they don't realize are sexy? Carrying as many folding chairs as you can at once. Something rolled up sleeves. Caring for helpless things. An ex said it was hot watching me change her car soil. There was a study done in Japan to see what school-aged ladies saw as attractive in their male counterparts, and running fast was like number 1 or 2 for elementary and middle schoolers. One time my wife and I were trying to move this big giant recliner type chair up our stairs and we were having trouble, and I said, "It's okay, sweetheart, you take a break." And I just picked the thing you panned, hauled it upstairs myself. She said, "Wow." I once changed a radiator in my house and that, without doubt, got me more attention and flattery from the women in my life than anything else I've ever done. So apparently, men who read books are sexy, was Ali. I've scrolled through all the comments and the tone mentions reading. I find men that show their caring, gentle and soft side very sexy. Like being gentle with siblings, friends and animals. They make me feel safe. My heart does a little flip each time my significant other, ever so slightly puts his hand in my back when we're walking, to guide me, or Ives trying to squeeze by behind me. I don't know why that gets me fired up lol. Getting super excited talking about a nerdy interest they care about. A lot of guys suppress caring about things. Edit. I totally resonate with all the people sharing about their experiences trying to open UPenn feeling rejected. It sucks. The nerdy topic isn't the attractive thing in and of itself, it is the openness and vulnerability. Like you are so comfortable you can be yourself with your niche things you love. Vulnerability is when you're most open to attack, and it fully makes sense why people have learned to not put themselves out there like that. But I still love it when it happens. Pausing and thinking before reacting. It's so hot. A physician I work with always does this and it is very, very attractive. Deleted. Moaning during sex. My wife has told me taking my shirt off with one hand is a thing. That kind of blew my mind. What did sex ed definitely not prepare you for? Sex. Everything in regards to sex in general. All I learned was how pregnancy works and what STDs a penis look like. The wide variety of breasts and genitals. Not everyone looks the same. I wasn't allowed to participate. Literally the only kid in my grade who had parents that refused to let me sit through the class. I had to sit in the library by myself. So stupid. The sheer amount of sex I wasn't gonna have. Seriously though, I thought sex was about to be a daily thing. You should pee after sex. Male puberty. We went over female anatomy intensively, and it was stated that men get erections and that we should wear condoms or risk getting HIV, AIDS or babies. The final exam was 5 questions. Question 1, your name. Question 2 is, teacher's name, the greatest. Question 3, did you learn anything? Question 4, what did you learn? Question 5, what is your favorite sport? For context, health was taught by a 58-year-old football coach. Men of Reddit, what is the most embarrassing thing you've done during sex? Was going down on my GF on Thanksgiving. We were at my parents' house, in the basement, on the couch, and I was under a blanket. Apparently my dad came down and slowly backed away like Homer Simpson in the bushes. I had no idea, but she noticed. During dinner, my dad commented, "Wow, I'm surprised you're still hungry." She said, "Come for me." I heard, "Comfort me." I stopped mid-stroking and hugged her, while caressing her hair. 23 years later I still lose sleep. Looked down at my own man tits and went soft. One time my GF was sucking my dick. She was getting really into it and getting sloppy with it. I wash holding her hair and forcing her head fairly aggressively. We've always enjoyed rough sex, so this was very normal for us. When suddenly she pops my dick out her mouth and tells me, "Slap me," and holds my dick next to her cheek while staring up at me. This was a bit out of my comfort zone, but without hesitation I slap her across the face with an open hand. She gets back to sucking my slong and I get back to simply enjoying the feeling of getting the soul sucked out of me. But I can't help but feel like maybe I had swung a little too hard. I didn't like that feeling. I pull my dick out of her mouth and tell her, "I'd rather not have to slap you." She replied, "Same, I meant slap me with your dick." We both burst out laughing. Like uncontrollably laughing. Tears of joy. Farted while thrusting. And not just once, like 4 times in a row, once per thrust. Never saw hair again. My partner Fanny farted, and in an attempt to make it less awkward I farted and then shit myself. Stepdad walking in on me on my first proper girlfriend, and whilst balls deep I said hi. I still don't understand why I said hi. First real girlfriend in high school, grade 12, was San, incredibly flexible gymnast. Her dad walked in to see her feet behind her head with my hands on her hamstrings supporting my body weight. We were going at it good and very exposed. Something about the surprise caused the exact opposite reaction I would have expected. Yeah, Dad saw me finish. I'd like to think my memory is false, but I'd swear we were making eye contact as I realized there was no pulling out, or it would be worse. His look of disappointment is still burned into my memory, and I'm now an old man. They moved to another state about 6 months later, and I'm fairly confident that was the catalyst. Laughed at a joke on the TV I was using to distract me from coming too fast. She was not amused. So like I was with this girl, she was pretty thick. Well, I put her in doggy style and I thought I had put it in, and instead I was just fucking the space between her thighs. I couldn't tell the difference back then and ended up coming, and only after she told me I wasn't even inside her loudly crying. I like to listen to music while having sex. Typically me and my friend who I was dating at the time throw something on my phone. but for whatever reason we used hers. Her tastes are more interesting. Everything is going well. Can't remember what was playing before it switched, but now it's on. What does the fox say? I don't know what it was, but that made me hit the climax button way earlier than I thought. She ends up laughing hysterically while I've got the most confused orgasm face she's ever seen. Burned into both of our minds forever. Leg cramp after I called my then girlfriend by my previous girlfriend's name. Tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy. Not me, but a friend was putting it in his GF's button, the back of a car at night. Cop shows up and flashes his light in the back of the car. He freaks out and pulls out super quick. She proceeds to shit in him, and then he pukes on her. Cop didn't stick around and said go home. What is the most fucked up thing to happen on Reddit? Probably the dude who asked Reddit for help regarding wife's infidelity and ended up with wife killing their kid out of spite. The dude who documented trying heroin for the first time and his descent to full-blown addict was pretty fucked. He did recover and is still clean if memory serves, though. That damn safe still gets to me. The post where the grandmother didn't believe a child was allergic to coconut and then the child died because the grandmother put coconut oil in her hair. There was a thread a while back on this sub asking people who killed somebody why they did it. One of the more popular comments was from this guy who said that when he and his friends were kids in the 80s, they were playing outside when they got to the top of this hill, and came across another kid who was generally considered to be the weird kid in the town. They tell him to leave but he refuses. An argument ensues, which ends with one of the boys pushing the kid off the hill to his death, leading to Op and his friends to quickly flee the scene. The next day, the body was gone. The thing is, users were quickly able to find what state Op was from because he had shared it on his profile several times, and when somebody replied to his comment with an unsolved case from that state that was similar to his story, Op quickly deleted his comment. Not as well known as some others, but I saw a thread and glitch in the Matrix where someone talked to Butho. A room in their apartment disappeared when they were away for a long weekend. Their roommate's side never existed too, so they were freaking out. If I remember correctly, they updated a month or so later just saying, "Update. I have a brain tumor." The entire sub dedicated to getting high on Benadryl is pretty fucked up, but specifically I recall one guy posting exceedingly large amounts he would take, and then one day he posted a lethal amount and then never posted again. A few years back there was a post on our legal advice where a user was asking in extreme detail how sexual assault cases are prosecuted and how the police gather evidence. From their replies and ensuing follow-up questions, it was completely transparent that they were actually looking for advice on how to avoid getting caught. The guy that kept finding weird notes in his apartment and was suspicious, and it turned out he was getting carbon monoxide poisoning, and Reddit saved his life.